Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Sports Card Advantage podcast. It is December 28th, 2021, last podcast of the year. It is the Big 4-0. This is episode 40, so it's been a hell of a year. As always, my ride or die, Mr. Bunk. What's going on, buddy?
Not much. How you doing?
All good in the hood, I suppose. Trying to close out the year strong before starting 2022.
Yeah, most people are off this week.
Yeah. Oh, I'm on light.
You got me working.
Light detail this week. So gotta make that money. So. All right. We are going to run through some quick Sports Card Advantage business. Once again, follow us on social media, Instagram, Sports Card ADVTG. That's Instagram and Twitter. You can also watch us if you want to see our bright and shining faces on YouTube instead of listening to us. So YouTube is just look for Sports Card Advantage. And then we have the giveaway from Christmas. Merry Christmas to all. We had some entries on Instagram. We had some entries on email. We had some entries on Twitter. Even though people that sent us entries on email didn't follow the instructions, we're gonna show some holiday spirit and some holiday cheer here and give them an opportunity to enter. Bunk, you want to give me a number between 1 and 10?
Man, it's killing me not to say 10, but I'll go with 3.
3. All right, here we go. 1, 2, and 3. All righty. So we have an Instagram entry. I believe the screen name is mflow, and I think this is Mike Flores. Mike's a longtime listener of the show. He's emailed us a bunch of times. So Mike Flores, you are the winner. I will reach out to you via email and get your address so that we can get you out that card. Congratulations. Merry Christmas. We had some people emailing us about Tatum. I'm not sure where that came from, but the card that we were giving away was a 2015 Devin Booker Prism card.
Yeah, one of the social media ones that Tatum too. I was confused.
Yeah, I'm not sure where it came from, but I believe we stated it multiple times last week.
Oh yeah, it's clear. It's the card that you didn't know what you were buying. So that was the Booker.
Yes, exactly. It was the Sports Card Advantage error card. So congratulations, Mike. Merry Christmas. We'll get you out that card once we get your address. We'll send you an email and get it. I almost said it. So moving on, we are, since it's the end of the year, a lot of podcasts are talking about the year in review. We're not really going to talk about a lot of the year in review. We talked about the year as it was happening. So we're going to get into what we think is going to happen in 2022. It's going to be a fairly lengthy discussion. There's a lot of potential out there. So before I get into some specifics, why don't you give me what your thoughts are on where you think the hobby is going in 2022? Give me some, normal middle of the road predictions, and then why don't you throw me a hot take for 2022?
Well, it sounds like you're going to fuel me with some of the ideas you have here, but I don't know. Early predictions. I think the market's going to stay where it is. I think football and basketball are going to continue to suffer, and then people are going to realize baseball's the best, and it's coming back real soon, and you're going to start seeing baseball take off.
And when you say suffer, you don't think we're going to see any kind of bounce in the beginning of 2022 for football and basketball? You think it's going to continue to steadily decline as it has been?
What reason do I have to get excited for basketball right now?
Well, I mean, you have to figure a lot of I mean,
The All-Star game in February?
the theory was that a lot of people were selling things for the holidays, and and everybody keeps saying, you know, this happens every year, and the market goes down in December, and then comes back in January, February, etc. So, do you anticipate that trend not continuing, or are you just baseball bias and just think that baseball is the only thing that's going to go up in the spring?
Yeah, I think the only thing gonna save football right now is A, companies get some products out, and B, we'll see how the playoffs go. You get some sick matchups in the playoffs, and you get some of these veteran guys going deeper into the playoffs. You could be looking at a nice spike on some of those, but those are going to be mainly the unaffordable guys. Your Aaron Rodgers and your Mahomes, hopefully, and your Tom Brady's.
Yeah. Well, I'm hoping, and I think that Q1 of 2022 is not only going to be a telling sign of where 2022 is going to go, but I think it's going to be a telling sign of where the hobby is going to go. Simply because the last 2 years have been skyrockets up and crashes. We had the pandemic, we had, people getting money as far as government stuff for COVID. We had influencers, we had just tremendous pumps where you had 4 and 5 and 10 and 20 and 30x. And then, we saw this year prices literally started to come down in Q2 and have, for the most part, either flattened or continued to come down, except on really low pop, rarer, higher end cards. Those have either stayed steady or continued to go up just for rarity's sake. So 2022 is really going to be the first opportunity that we're seeing the market after it has settled and what it's going to do. We're hoping that there is no more shutdowns. We're hoping that the world will settle down a bit, but I think it's really going to be a telltale sign of what's in store for things to come. And if this market continues to go down despite the normal patterns of rising in Q1, Q2, there's going to be a lot more value that's going to get sucked out of the hobby.
Yeah, I mean, I think the easiest thing for me to say is I don't know anything in terms of predicting what's going to happen here, but I think it's reasonable to suggest that the end of 2020 and the first half of 2021, you're not going to see those kind of prices in the first half of 2022, in my opinion.
Yeah, I don't think you're going to see anywhere near that spike. But if you see, for example, the guys that are playing well on the court, basketball or field football, and those prices have been steadily declining over the last 60 days. And if you see those prices continuing to go down for the guys that are leading the league in, on field, on court stats, that's a problem. I mean, that would be somewhat disturbing to me. For example, guys like Trey Young, guys like Herbert, guys like Burrow, who are all young guys that are leading the league in stats and crushing it. And if their cards continue to keep going down, that is an indication that there is not as much buying interest as there is of people trying to sell out and get out of these cards. So there really is going to be an indication of longer term. The only thing that I think that could potentially flip this on its head and bring in additional interest is whether or not Fanatics buys a card company in 2022 and gets their ass in the game right now. So I listened to Josh Luber, and for those of you who don't know who Josh Luber is the grand poobah of the Fanatics card brand. He's been appointed basically the CEO or whatever creative title he's been given for the Fanatics card company. He was on the Luka Tiger LeBron podcast. Shout out to those guys. And they did a fantastic interview with him. So if you haven't gone and watched that, hop on their YouTube and watch it. A lot of great information. He definitely hinted around that he doesn't think that they're going to wait until the licenses expire before they get in the game. I don't think that they would have hired him and brought him on to just shelve him for the next 3 years until the licenses expire. So if
So
they
there's
buy it,
backdoor meetings going on right now.
I would think so. Um, Based on what he said, he definitely hinted at that they may get in the game in 2022. And what that game is, not 100% sure. Whether or not it's going to be Tops, whether or not it's going to be Panini, or whether or not it's going to be something of a brand, like an Upper Deck that has been really, really quiet and could be purchased for a lot less money than Tops or Panini. But they need to get in the game. And if they get in the game, that breathes new life into some things. So
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, what are you suggesting that they whoever they buy, they just have operating control and just it's still tops.
yeah,
Just buy Fanatics.
yeah. I mean, I think that's exactly
You
what you're
don't
gonna.
think they want their own cards?
Oh, they definitely will, but those though they can't make their own cards until the licenses expire with these other brands. So they can't make logoed cards with football, baseball, basketball until the licenses expire with Tops and Panini. But if they go buy Tops, then they can get in the game. They can make decisions.
Yeah, you'd have to think that something like that's got to occur because they got to get there's a lot of stuff that goes into the printing and the manufacturing and the packaging of all these things. I mean, if they can get in the game earlier, they'll certainly help their transition once they do become the license. What is it? The licensor or the licensee of the
Yeah.
MLB or the of the sports names.
Yeah, yeah, and that's the whole thing. You got to figure right now, Fanatics is not set up to print cards, but Tops and Panini are. So you buy them, you not only get the brand names, but you also get the facilities. You get the facilities, you get the printing, the packing, the foil, the wrapping, the shipping, all that stuff that comes with it, and then it gives them a few years to design their cards and get the stuff to the point where they're ready. But if they buy in now, they can start to talk about shelving certain brands. I mean, that's one of the things he talked about with Panini, is he feels that there's too many brands and that it's watered down, and that they
There's too
may
many releases.
yes, and what they may do is they may shelve some of the Panini releases for the Fanatics releases when you get to that point, if they were to buy Panini or buy Tops or whatever it is.
Yeah, just get stuff out on time and put the goddamn auto on the card, and then I'll be plenty happy.
Yeah,
And get
so
rid of redemption cards.
if they get in the game, I think that breathes some new life into some things. But right now, I think that the hobby is still figuring out what it is, where it's going. Because the days of the 18-month period where you could see, 3, 4, 5x in the course of 90 days, 120 days, whatever it is, similar to crypto and similar to the Wall Street bets type of market action that was going on. I think those days are past.
So
So
we're back to what it's been for 70 years as a hobby now.
it's possible that we're back to that point where the stuff that has higher pops is going to just go sideways, and it'll go up a little bit, down a little bit. But whether or not there's money to be made on buying and selling cards that have PSA 9, 10 pops of thousands, I don't know where that's going to be.
No, I think it's going to be in the tank.
Yeah.
I 100%. If a card's got 10K plus, then it's no different than almost any other card you can show me.
Yeah, and that becomes, is it just worth what the base is worth, because there's so many of them. An Acuna 2018, that has an 18,000 pop. Is it just worth the plastic that it's in? You
No,
know,
it'll still get a bump over the base, but it's not going to see you're not going to see those prices again, not for a while. Plus, the other issue is everything on my timelines now are NFTs and crypto.
yeah.
That's where all the money. That's where it looks like all the money's going right now.
Well,
And you got to figure when the hot going was good, these are the people that are in this stuff. They're looking to make money, right? So when sports cards took off, they shifted some of their money into sports cards,
yeah.
and now it's cooled off a bit. NFTs are definitely on the way up right now, and that's where I think the money shifted.
Yeah, 100%.
And
And
that's big money. And we're not talking little. I mean, yeah, some of them are a little money, but I mean, a lot of them are bigger money type purchases.
yeah, I mean, if I look at my crypto portfolio over the course of 2021, I mean, I'm up 8 to 10x what I put in. And I think that you're going to have a ton of opportunity in that space as well. Um, and I don't have to worry about whether or not somebody's fat or breaks an ankle or, gets hit by a bus or whatever it is, whatever else it is. So I think that a lot of the portion of the market that was in it for the money and the quick flip is gone. And then it's just a matter of how much additional love for the game and the cardboard is here that's going to stay here that wasn't here 2 years ago.
But I think that's a huge thing because you got people like myself that have never gone, never left. And I've been doing it this whole time, and I've been through all the ups and downs, albeit this one the biggest up. And then there's a big percentage of people that have come back since 2018, and I think there's a big percentage of those people that are not here anymore.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, you have people that got in it for the quick money, and then you also have that left, and then you also have the people that got burned, that were gonna come
A
back
lot of people got burned.
for the collectible, but they bought at tops, at the peak of the FOMO, and now that they're upside down 50%, 80% on what they bought in for, that leaves a really bad taste in your mouth to keep freaking buying, and you may just dump out and just go back to not being interested. So there was a lot of like frenzy for a bit, and everybody was talking about national and in Atlantic City, and this is going to be the biggest and the best and whatever. I mean, we'll see if the air continues to deflate out of this. I mean, by no means do I think that the hobby is crashing or going to burst or go away or whatever, but I don't think for those that are looking to make money, you're going to be looking to make money by buying rare or buying raw and grading. I don't think flipping the same card that has the same card that is PSA 10 and trying to make enough money is going to be there anymore.
And I think you got to wait it out. I think you got to show some patience. We were talking off air about some of the things we had been looking at over the course of the year and how it looked like it was at rock bottom, and it still
Yeah.
continued to go down afterwards. So
Yeah. I mean,
you might have to show a little more patience. Don't have the FOMO. Sit on stuff. Watch stuff longer.
yeah, or dump it, take the money, and try to reinvest it. I mean, that's the situation that we're in. We've talked about it before. We had another project that we were working on that we have shelved that we acquired a bunch of inventory for, and some of that stuff we're up, and some of that stuff we're down big time. But we're just gonna have to dump it, get as much as we can, and put that money into other things. And one prime example of what I thought was rock bottom, you had a Larry Bird rookie that we recommended buying in at a PSA 8, priced at the time that we recommended it was 230 to 250, and we had said like chart looks like bottom, and I just looked it up before we got on here, and it's 180. So it dropped another 25 or 30%, and I brought up the chart for those of you that are watching, and this card hit 600 back in February and literally has slowly deflated over the course of the month. I mean, over the course of the year, and this card's gotten as low as 175. I mean, literally from actually, I think it closed. No, sorry, the highest close was 1141 back in February. And then literally we hit 175. So you're talking 85% drop.
Yeah, that's why I think it's unrealistic in the first 6 months of 2022, getting back to predictions, to expect a huge bounce back. So I think you got to be patient here, and let the market start shifting upwards before you load up on stuff.
Yeah, I mean that's the whole thing. It's like there has to be some sort of spark. There has to be some sort of catalyst, and all the big name influencers that were rah-rahing around sports cards, those guys are, you know, moved on. That if they weren't part of the sports card space, the guys like Gary Vee is the biggest one that stands out. But even some of the other guys, like Wahlberg and Steve Aoki, Steve Aoki's floating around a little bit here and there, but he's nowhere near as visible in the space as he was. Gary Vee is a ghost in sports cards at this point, other than he talks about NFTs. So these guys that were pumping this stuff are gone, and you're going to need some sort of other spark or catalyst to push this thing moving back in the other direction, or we're going to go sideways for a while.
In the meantime, us PCers and set builders are going to continue to reap the rewards of lower prices. Now, the other question is, with the market coming down as much as it is, I need to see box and pack prices come way down. That's what I'm looking forward to. Because at some point, we're already at the point where the value in the pack and the box for the prices we're paying is not there.
No.
Period. Like, honestly, you shouldn't even buy a hobby box right now of almost anything.
Yeah. Well, I'm really curious to see, the breakers, whether or not the breakers are still seeing the amount of buy-ins. I know these guys are still filling breaks, but
well, I can't help myself. I'm still getting in them, but the value's terrible right now based on the box prices.
Yeah.
But slowly but surely, people are saying, "Forget this. I got an 800-count box full of cards I can do nothing with."
Yeah.
That excites me, but most people it does not.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know, a month ago I got into a break, and it was a box war break, and I won 2 boxes. I don't even think with both boxes I got out of that what I paid for 1 box.
Is that what you just sent me the other day?
Yeah.
Yeah, no, you did.
Yeah.
I don't even know what you paid. I can guarantee you that you did not come anywhere near the box price of 1.
Yeah. And that was a cheap box. I mean, I think it was 2021 Mosaic Baseball. I think I paid $140 to get in, and I won in a whole second box, and I don't think I made $140 back.
There's no way I could sell what you sent me for $140.
Yeah. So it's
not even close.
It cost me more to ship it to Bone.
That's low end.
Yeah. I mean, and so it's just like, and there was a Tatis card in there and some auto. I think I had 4, 5, or 6 autos in there and whatever, and it still wouldn't even come close. So that's the thing. At some point, there's got to be value. At some point, there's got to be, an opportunity. The thing that's going to give this thing lifeblood is going to be excitement. And I just don't see that right now. New products behind, packs and, pack boxes prices are through the roof, and Panini and Topps are racing against the clock to make as much money as possible, which is another reason why Fanatics may make their way in here, because they need to stop the bleeding.
I mean, and the companies have to be adversely affected with these delays in getting the product out, no? In terms of revenue on their end, or no? It doesn't affect them.
Well, I mean, over the past few years, Topps and Panini have made so much freaking money that, yes, it affects their bottom line, but how much, I don't know.
Right.
So I'm hoping that we get some sort of bump in January, February, football
I hope so too, because
playoffs.
the last 15 minutes sound just like doom and gloom.
Yeah, I mean, well, there's not a lot to get excited about right now other than rare stuff. But even the rare stuff, it's all stuff that's out of most people's price range. You're looking at things that have, great players, vintage stuff that are pop 50, 80, 100, whatever, and that stuff's all selling for thousands of dollars, and most people don't have that kind of cash. So it's just like, how excited are you going to be to buy into a $120 card that could be worth $80 in another couple of months, unless it's just for something that you're going to keep. And it is what it is.
Yeah, the only box you buy all year long shouldn't be Topps opening day because it's the cheapest one. That's just sad.
Yeah, well, we'll see, but I'm hoping that we get some sort of move in the right direction. There's too much money that's been invested into this. You have big companies like Fanatics that have bought in on that side. You have big companies like Amazon that have bought into Dibs. You have big companies like BlackRock, which is the venture capital firm with Michael Rubin from Fanatics and Jay-Z that have bought CSG. You have, Collectors Universe that spent $750 million on PSA. So there's definitely big money being spent, and there's going to be ways to make money in this hobby. But I think the rules are going to change. And I think that's going to be made very, very clear in 2022. And to throw the cherry on top of this shit sandwich is the news about eBay. And for those of you that don't know, I will read the article that just came out. I mean, this has been in the pipe for a while, but eBay just made the formal announcement. eBay announced on December 20th that the online marketplace will be required to collect social security numbers or individual tax identification numbers from all sellers who sell product over the course of the year worth more than $600. Effective January 1st, 2022, eBay sellers will receive a 1099 if they sell at least $600 worth of goods through the e-commerce platform in 2022 with no minimum transaction level. This is down from the current income threshold to be issued by a 1099, which stood at $20,000 in annual sales with a minimum of 200 transactions. This may impact the 2022 tax return filed in 2023. So what that means for you is if you have bought a card for $200 and then sold the card on eBay for $400, you're going to be required to pay income tax on that $200 income. So now eBay is going to take a 12.5% chunk out of your ass, and now the government is going to take, let's just say for the sake of tax brackets, a 24% chunk out of your profit. So you're going to lose a fairly substantial amount of money selling on eBay once you hit that $600 threshold, which will also have an impact on the hobby. A lot of transactions will take place off of eBay, and you will also see comps be probably a little bit more challenging to get something accurate because people don't want to pay that additional income tax that they haven't been paying.
Yeah, and then you're going to have the issue of now you're going to have tons of transactions going on that have no kind of buyer or seller protection whatsoever that now exists through the likes of eBay and then PayPal connected to it. So, I mean, honestly, the best thing you do at this point is if you haven't already, you got to get yourself into a good community of collectors, buyers, sellers, traders, where you can rely on each other and know, find the known scammers and get people to vouch for you and surround yourself with people you can trust. Because if more selling's going on off eBay, then you're going to need the help.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's something that we can try to provide some information, some Twitter threads, and some other things over the coming weeks. Reliable Facebook groups where, buying and selling can be done because I think that you're going to see a lot of it. I think, the buying part of stuff will be the same on eBay as far as the overall eyeballs and people looking to purchase. But I think selling on eBay, I think some of the sellers will be looking to sell in other places. So, how much of an impact it has on something like eBay, we won't know that until we get to the middle of 2022 and be able to get to see Q1 numbers. But, I'm definitely not excited about losing an additional 24% of my profit selling on eBay.
Well, I mean, there are plenty of people that are making their entire living through selling breaks and cards on eBay. I mean, this is a big deal.
Yeah. So, there's a couple there is a lot of things that are happening in the hobby right now that are going to impact what happens in 2022 and beyond. This is going to be a pivotal year. It's going to be a crossroads, so to speak. And a lot of big things can happen that will shape this for the future. So, we're excited to see what happens. We'll be here. Hopefully, you'll be here with us for 2022. We're going to continue to do our thing. We have, I don't know, somewhere in the neighborhood of 17 to 20 cards that are about to go out for grading to PSA, SGC, and I hate to say it, HGA.
That was your call too.
Well, and I'll take some feedback on this. Feel free to email or comment on social media whether or not we have a UFC card. Picked up a Sean O'Malley auto, and based on the values that we're seeing, PSA doesn't seem to make sense at 150 bucks. So we're debating SGC versus HGA. And personally, I think HGA have a younger audience, which gravitates towards UFC versus SGC. So that's why we're going to do that. We're hoping that the value will be there.
I'm still surprised though, because according to you, HGA might be out of business before we get the card back.
Well, the reason why, and dude, I didn't even want to bring this up because you said I'm not allowed to badmouth them anymore until you sell your HGA cards. The reason why I made that statement is because if you look at some of the forums, there are supposedly, and whether or not you believe them or not, a couple of people that used to work at HGA that have been airing out some dirty laundry in some of these Facebook groups and card forums, saying that HGA has let most of their customer service staff go, even though they're, you know, probably 20 or 30 days, business days behind. We were supposed to get something back in 60 business days that we submitted in August. It's now going on January, and
I think we're over 100 days now.
yeah, we still haven't gotten it. So it doesn't make sense to me why you'd get rid of your customer service staff, especially when you're dealing with a bunch of angry customers, unless you just can't afford it.
Well, because I think they were giving out refunds like it was their job, because their main platform when they came out was you're going to get the cards back when we say you're going to get them back, on the site. And
Yeah.
people were writing at the fifth business day over, like, hey, and I know a lot of people that were getting refunds.
Yeah, refunds plus you're only collecting $20. At the time it was $20, now it's 25. You're only getting $20 and you're sitting on this stuff. And, so I'm not confident in their future. Simply because SGC has had a foothold in vintage and then expanded with the shutdowns. Beckett has been around forever, even though they suck at business. They're not going anywhere. PSA obviously is what it is. And CSG, I think you potentially could see some things from CSG this year. They just they got bought out, or the capital infusion, probably 4 or 5 months ago now. And, you have to imagine they got to start making some changes and rolling some stuff out in 2022.
I just bought my first CSG card, actually.
Yeah, people
Days ago, now that you mention it.
People love the material that the slab is made of. They just hate the slab design.
Oh, it's ugly as sin. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's ugly as sin. I mean, again, this is another example where I bought the card. Not the slab it's in, but I'm looking at it right now. But yeah, it is hideous. But I don't know. It's gonna be tough. It's gonna be tough for me to agree that it's better than the HGA slab, but I'll see when it comes in.
Well, as I said, people like the material of the feel of the plastic. They said it feels like glass, but the slab design is garbage. So if they change that and bring it to something that's a little bit more modern or simplistic, that's just not as ugly, and the material's better, and there's some sort of public backing by celebrity or athlete or somebody connected to Ruben or Jay-Z or whoever, I mean, all of a sudden they get in the game. They're advertising campaigns, influencers. They throw some money around. They get in the ball game because CSG's been around. They're not like HGA who popped up out of the ether. CSG has been around grading coins and collectibles for years, and so it puts them in a little bit of a different spot than HGA because they have that long-standing reputation, and now they have the financial backing.
Yeah, we'll see.
So
Just give me my cards back before you go under.
yeah, but getting back to my previous point, our game plan for 2022 is buying raw or buying inferior slabs and sending on to PSA.
Yeah, and then from the non-investment standpoint, I'm doing the same thing with some of the PC items and stuff. I'm buying tons of veterans, future Hall of Famers, Guys that seem like they're going to be future stars, and anything I've been getting tons of out of 25, out of 50. I've been focusing on primarily things numbered to 100 or less, and I'm getting great deals on, and I'm just piling them up, selling all my non-numbered stuff, my inserts, my rookie cards that are base. I'm selling all this stuff, and I'm turning it into things numbered to 100 or less at great prices right now.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, if prices can
All raw for the most part.
if prices continue to go down, you might as well scoop stuff up for the time being. And speaking of prices, why don't we talk about? Do you have any other topics for 2022?
No, no, I don't think so. I think you gotta sit back and watch a little bit personally if you're trying to make some money. You gotta wait and see where it's heading because it like to your point earlier, it's not going anywhere. It's still going to be big bucks. There's still going to be plenty of opportunities, but I think in order to maximize how well you're going to do, I think there's a waiting game that needs to go on right now. So stay the course and keep doing your homework.
Yeah, and January, February going to be a really good indication, I think, of what direction 2022 and beyond is going to go in. And once again, if Fanatics gets off the sideline, it changes the game completely. All of a sudden if they buy a Tops or Panini, you have a brand that's been in place for however long, and they're a massive company. They will be the biggest company in the space. Fanatics is, I think, a $10 billion company or something ridiculous, and they will be the biggest company in the space with distribution beyond belief. So, and you have to figure, Luber's been around the block. He built StockX, he built a few other businesses, and, he knows what he's doing. So does Ruben. So we'll see what they're going to do with this. But I think that once they're in the game and once they have the licenses fully in hand to be able to do stuff, I think you're going to see a lot more athletes get involved with cards and push a lot more of this stuff. So
another interesting point too, which may be a topic for another day, but if we're going to see, I mean, based on what you just said about eBay, we're going to definitely see a nice chunk decrease in total sales there, correct? In the sports card place, you would imagine.
I would have to imagine, yeah.
Right. So now you're losing a nice percentage of potential sales where you're not going to have comp information. So I think it's going to be tougher to price your cards for sale off eBay. I think because I think the demand, the supply you're seeing on eBay is not going to meet necessarily good or bad the supply that you're going to see on your other platforms. So I think it's going to be tough. Maybe we're a little bit more of a grind to sell off eBay.
Yeah, and I'm curious to see
Or get the price you want, anyways.
I'm curious to see what PWCC's policy is going to be, and some of these other auction houses, Heritage and Golden, and My Slabs, and some of these other places where you can sell. I'm really interested to see that, and what their policies are going to be, and whether or not they're going to follow suit, along with eBay, and then it's really going to become a peer-to-peer type of sale, and it will become a more dangerous market. Similar to some NFTs and shit coins and other things in the space where transactions can be made, friends and family, which you can't get back, and or it's like straight up crypto transactions, which good luck with that, because there's no way that you're going to be able to ever get that back if you get scammed. So there's a lot of stuff out there that's going to be happening.
So I can immediately start, if I got the things in place, I can start accepting payment of cards in crypto.
Yeah.
All right.
So once you have your crypto wallet, whatever that is, whether or not you're using Coinbase or any other wallet or exchange, you'll get an address. So for example,
I got me one of them.
Okay. So for example, you want to take payment in Ethereum.
For you.
Well, one day you and I will sit down and Daddy will teach you what you need to know about crypto. But you'll get an Ethereum address, and with that Ethereum address, you could post that anywhere and say, if you want this card, send me this in Ethereum, and leave the note of who you are, an address. There's like a note that you can leave, in the transaction. If it's not, so some cryptos have specific memo notes that you have to have. Others, you can write anything you want in there. So that memo note will show up with you, and it could be like, Jeff Smith bought, an XYZ address, and then they send you the money, and then you have to send them the card. But you could be like, thanks, Jeff Smith, go fuck yourself. I'm not sending you the card. And there's not a damn thing that Jeff Smith can do to prove that A, that Ethereum address belongs to you, and B, that you got the money.
Right.
I mean, there's certain transaction logs and stuff out there, but it's relatively anonymous, and that's what it was designed for.
Way too complicated.
Oh God.
I'll stick to PayPal.
Yeah, not to get off on a rant here. Shout out Dennis Miller. But I started looking at some of the play to earn crypto games today in my free time, and some of this shit you need a fucking advanced mathematics degree to comprehend. There are so many things that you can do with some of this shit in order to make money, but it is like 17 steps that you got to do to get it right.
I don't have time for that.
Yeah, but some of the quotes that you read is that there's a new generation of millionaires that are going to be made because you have these 17-year-old kids that this is like Spanish class to them, that they've learned it along the way and they understand it and can just crank it out.
Excel, yeah.
Yeah, and they're making a few $100s a day in passive income and can grow that because they know how to play these games or buy the tools and put everything together and snap it all so that it makes sense. And that's the crazy part about where crypto and NFTs are going to go. And the same thing's going to happen in the hobby. There's going to be some sort of NFT tie-in other than what we have now. All right, we've rambled on long enough. We'll get to investments and anything else that we may have, and then we'll wrap up for today. Who you got this week, sir?
I'm looking at a 2012 Topps Heritage Michael Trout.
2012 Topps Heritage. All right, let me
actually PSA 9.
I believe this is the second appearance that this card has made on the show, if I'm not mistaken.
Is it?
I think so.
I don't remember.
2012. It's the second year card, correct?
Correct.
Topps Heritage. Yeah, I think we did a whole segment on second year Trout cards. So this is the it's base, right?
Yep.
Yeah,
It's only got a pop of 1465, has a high of 400, which I don't think you'll see again, but it's also averaging over the last 2 weeks. It's down to $150, and it's been down for a while. So I don't know that if I'm hopping in there yet at 150, but it's certainly one, like as we spoke to earlier, that I'm following for the next 4 to 6 weeks here as we enter spring training and the much anticipated return of Mike Trout back on the field.
Yeah, so that is my question as far as, are you bullish on Trout going into 2022?
Yeah, I mean, listen, the majority of people you talk to still say this guy's going to be a Hall of Famer, even if he finishes the next 5, 6, 7 years of mediocrity, just because he was the best that there was and so dominant for that period of time that he was there. But we've spoke about it before on the show. He's showing some signs of breaking down. He's been missing a lot of time here and there, so we'll have to see what happens. I mean, I hope the guy gets back strong, and maybe the Angels can actually get into the playoffs for him. Start accumulating some stats when it matters.
Yeah.
Look at the chart. What do you think about where it sits now? I'll have to go back and maybe I can update it next time, see where it was last time we were talking about it.
If memory serves me correctly, I believe the last time we talked about this card, it was 200. Like 175 to 200.
Yeah,
So
because I
it's
think we were looking at a possible return for him in the end of the year, and if you're looking back at the chart in that August September range, that's where it was hovering. It was a
yeah,
little above, little below.
yeah, yeah. So I mean, chart wise, it's built a pretty solid bottom from October to current, and has bottomed out at 109 back in the middle of December. But has had subsequent sales at 150, 175, 120, and last sale at 169 on Christmas, on 162. So I mean, if you get this thing as close to $100, close to like 100, 125 as you can, I just can't see something like this. The pop isn't very high, and I mean, unless the air continues to deflate out of this thing or out of the hobby as a whole, especially with baseball season coming up, I can't anticipate it going too much lower. But once again, not for financial advice and entertainment purposes only. But there's a nice bottom that's been built on this, and it could be, should be, as soon as you start cranking, in the season, you should see a nice spike.
Yeah, and it's also a highly condition sensitive card. At this point, I don't think you're going to see any sort of big spikes in nines or tens on the pop report. Even the 10 is barely over 1,000 tens. Uh, you know, Paper base card. Now you're looking at it's coming up on what 10 years old now. So you're not pulling this out of a box and pulling it out of an old box that you missed when you were opening packs and just slam dunking nines and tens left and right. So I think the pop stays relatively low forever on this card, and it should do nothing but go up from where it is.
All right, there you go.
What do
Okay,
you got today?
I got
I know you're good for some basketball or football.
I got both,
Ooh.
actually. So we're gonna do a little continuation of playoff quarterback um, potential, and two guys that we're talking about um, are guys that we talked a little bit about in the past. We're talking about some different cards. Josh Allen going to be number one. Buffalo looked dominant over New England in this past game. And the Bills are pretty much clinched into the playoffs. So, I mean, it's really going to give Allen an opportunity to show what he can do. And Bills are playing good football. They have a huge following. So we're going to look at the 2018 Concourse Silver Josh Allen PSA 9. I actually think we have one of these, to be honest with you. We don't have it in a 9. I think we have it raw. I think we bought it to potentially grade it, and we didn't. Simply because there's something that was on the card we didn't see in the auction, in the pictures. So this card last sale $138.50. That was 9 days ago. Card's been as high as $537 back in August. Pop 192. I mean, granted, with select, there's a ton of different variations, but basically, if the Bills can win some playoff games, you should see this, definitely turn around, provided you get some sort of bump from the playoffs in January. If the hobby as a whole continues to deflate, all bets are off for everything that we're talking about. And, we'll see as we get into January if that continues to happen. We may pause what we're doing for some of this stuff investment wise, simply because we don't want to continue to recommend things if the hobby as a whole continues to deflate. Because we're not going to come on here and start giving you guys recommendations for $3,000 cards. We know that passes most of you by.
That's
So
me by.
yeah, I mean most people. You're not regularly buying cards that are thousands of dollars. The other cards I got is we're going to look at a Joe Burrow 2020 Prism Silver PSA 9. This card is stupid cheap for what it is.
I think we got one of these too.
We do have one of these. We bought, so I bought into this card at 300. I thought at 300 that the card was in a good spot. I mean, it had bottomed. It had bottomed in around the 280 mark, and had a couple sales that peaked up, so I was able to grab it at 300, and we are now at last sale 221 2 days ago. Burrow just threw for 525 yards and 4 touchdowns. He's a stud. Bengals are going to make the playoffs more than likely. They could wind up winning their division, which is also most likely with the Ravens being hurt and having COVID issues. This will be the first time the Bengals have won the AFC North in God knows how long. So, by all intents and purposes, this should get a bump. Whether or not it does, who knows? There's been a few bottoms that have been created, and it just keeps going down. So hopefully this is the bottom of the bottom, but I can't guarantee anything, and we're gonna have to really see what happens over the next 6 weeks.
Well, the good news is the next one ending in 2.5 days is already at $213.
Okay,
so that's the good news there. So maybe that 500-yard performance is gonna, and the Bengals headed for the playoffs, and we'll see a little change there on him.
Yeah, I mean, we're really gonna see where things go as of January 1st. Once people aren't, or have dumped their assets and done whatever that they're gonna do for 2021 and the 2022
holidays.
Yeah, holidays are over. People have gotten their Christmas money, and you have people that are paying off credit cards and whatever. But hopefully you start to see some of the buying come back, and we'll start to see some improvements here.
And I think you will. I just think the biggest takeaway is going to be you can't look at a 12-month high at this point. I've said this a lot, and expect that to get back there.
Oh yeah,
right away or anytime
soon. Not anytime.
You can't have that expectation. So if you're looking to get in at a certain point and you're expecting a certain margin, you got to take into consideration that you're not getting the previous 12-month high.
Yeah, I don't think that we'll see the highs from February and March ever again, to be honest with you, on some of these cards.
Or it could be the next time there's a shift in the hobby. I mean,
but I just don't know what that catalyst would be.
Or if it's years from now.
Yeah, I mean, because you have pre-2018, the hobby was just a hobby at that point, and then all of a sudden, the spark happened, and then all this shit started to get graded, and then everybody started to buy up stuff, and that created scarcity, and then stuff went to PSA, and then the FOMO happened, and now the FOMO is dead or died off a bit. So I don't know if you're ever going to see some of the prices that you saw in 2020, Q1, Q2, 2021. I don't think that some of these cards that have 5 and 10K PSA 10 pops are going to 10x from where they are now, because there's no scarcity. There's no demand. Like, the demand is not going to ever exceed the supply again, more than likely.
Even when those and I keep knocking them, and I shouldn't, but those dopey Project 2020 cards, they every time we find out a release came out, and we're like, oh, there's only 18,000 of them. I was sitting in all these rooms, and still I bought some, so I'm just as guilty. But 18,000, I kept saying 18,000 is a lot of something.
Yeah.
And they're selling for these ridiculous amounts. Like, there's too many of these for these. And now, of course, most of them are drink posters now, but.
Yeah, I mean, you buy the Project 70 cards for the design and the art. I mean, that's
Oh, no doubt. There are
it's
some cool looking cards.
yeah, it's a $20 piece of art unless you can buy some of the hollow foil cards that were, short print runs and have the
Well,
chromey reflective thing on it.
that's just pure genius by Topps, because I mean, I know half the people that I know buying them are buying them because they're hoping they get foil, and they're buying them because they think they're going to be worth more money. And it's definitely a nice piece up the population buying because they're collecting all of the one artist or all something like that. But the majority of people are in it because they think it's going to have some sort of long term value, or they're hoping Topps sends them a foil card and they flip it for several $100s.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
just pure genius by Topps,
Yep.
sending those foil cards out randomly.
So, there's, but looking at charts, like looking at this Larry Bird chart that we looked at earlier. I mean, this thing topped out at over $1,000. I do not think that this card will ever get to over $1,000 ever again. This 1981 Topps Larry Bird PSA 8. I don't think it ever. I mean, there's a pop of 2,600 roughly. I just don't see that there's going to be enough guys that are sitting on these and enough demand to push that price back up there.
Oh, and all those poor people that bought one, say, 12 months ago.
There was at least eBay alone 20 to 30 sales that happened over $500.
Wow.
People bought the card that over $500, and it's now at 180, which you'd be down 60% of what you bought.
Yeah, it's gonna leave some pretty upset people.
Yeah, definitely some people holding the bag, as they say. All right, let's keep rolling. Where are we? 2017 Donruss Elite Series PSA 9 Patrick Mahomes. Last sale on this 243. Mahomes gonna be the next GOAT. Once Brady retires, he's the best quarterback in the league, and it's not a question. Everybody was all doubtful about whatever with him at the beginning of the year, and when the Chiefs struggled a little bit, he's still the man. And if you can pick
up, guy, you labeled all his stats right here on the show.
Yeah,
and he was no worse than he was the year before.
Yeah, I mean, but yet his cards, some of his other, some of his smaller cards are either flat or still going down. So his Prism Silver PSA 10 had sold for as much as $9,000 or $10,000 at one point. I think the other day it closed for $6,000.
Wow.
There's not a huge pop on it. I couldn't tell you why.
What are these Mahomes Elite 9s going for?
243. So let me see. Just for my own. Yeah, $6,200 on the Mahomes on Christmas Eve. And granted, it's Christmas Eve, so you're an idiot if you close a high-end card on Christmas Eve. But these things are off their high of 15,000. Back in February.
Damn, they were as high as 15K.
Yep. This card topped out at 15.5.
So if I bought it for 15.5, it's now worth $9,000 less. Is what you're telling me?
Yes. But this is right around Super Bowl. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7 sales that were over $14,000.
Wow.
Super Bowl week, and you're a dummy if you're buying Mahomes cards Super Bowl week when he's in the Super Bowl.
Well, he might be back there this year.
Yeah, I mean, Chiefs are looking at potentially number 1 seed. We could have a Super Bowl repeat of Chiefs versus Bucks. Even though Brady's been looking human lately, but who knows? With him, you never count him out once it counts in the playoffs. So
think it hits. You think that Prism 10 hits 10K if he's in the Super Bowl?
I mean, it's hit between 7 and 8,000 recently. Like there was a couple of sales earlier in the month at 7,800, 3 or 4 sales over 7,000.
I think that's possible.
So yeah, I think you could be looking at 8 to 10 if they make a deep run into the playoffs and people start to buy it. Pop's 883. So there's not a ton of these floating around.
No.
And it is, Prism, silver, iconic. And it's in that affordable range. If you start to look at any of his other Prism cards, that are out of 199 or out of 275 or whatever, you're talking, easily 10 to 15 grand, and that's after it took a dip. Like his Prism Orange out of 275 was, as of October, was 18,000 and then dipped down to 10 grand.
Damn.
So, anyway, Mahomes Donruss Elite Series PSA 9 last sale $243. Pop on this is $234. Good looking card. You want to get in the Mahomes market, you want a piece of the action. It's as affordable as you're going to get for him as far as a rookie card that's been graded.
One closing tomorrow at initial bid $299, no bids.
Well, the last one that closed was the 19th at $243, so I wouldn't pay $299.
No, I wouldn't either, but somebody may hit that.
Well, with a pop of $234, you never know.
Yeah, I mean that's not absurd for as great as we think he's going to be.
Correct. And last but not least, a little basketball. Zach LaVine, Concourse Silver PSA 10. I like LaVine. He is definitely electric on the court. He has been improving. He's still only 26 years old. The Bulls look like they have a team that they built that can be good for years to come. So let me just bring this up here. Select. And this is what kills me when you look at select and market movers. There's freaking so many variations.
Well, maybe Fanatics can put a
kibosh on this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Back to the good old days of 3 or 4 parallels.
I don't want a PSA 9. I want a PSA 10. PSA 9, by the way, $62. PSA 10 is...
Can't be many of them. I don't see any online.
Yeah, there's not. $265 was the last sale on the 27th. Pop's 43. So there's not a ton of them floating around, but LaVine in general, if you can get your hands on some that are at decent prices, he is in the top 5 in scoring. Bulls are in second place. There's solid team, and they hopefully should be good for years to come. And he's still only 26 years old. And as we've talked about in previous episodes, LeBron's done sooner or later, year 2 max, and then there's a huge void for NBA superstars. So, not saying that LaVine maybe or may not be one of them, but if the Bulls can continue to make runs in the East, I have to figure Brooklyn is going to get broken up at some point also in the next year or two, which could also leave the East wide open.
Yeah, Brooklyn's definitely on a window here.
Yeah, I mean, Durant's old. I don't know how old he is, but he's in his 30s, that's for sure. Kyrie got his issues with vaccination status. Harden, who knows how much more you're going to get out of him. So, and the Bulls are young. Anyway, on that note, we are hitting that time where usually we run about an hour and 5 minutes. We're at an hour and 3. So you got anything else for us?
No. Let's sneak in under that hour and 5 mark.
Sneak in. That is correct. All right, we're going to wrap it up. Once again, predictions for 2022 are in the books. When we throw up the links on Twitter and Instagram, throw us your hot takes, comment on everything, and let us know what you think is going to happen in 2022. And we will all go down on this journey together. That didn't sound right at all, but yeah. Once again.
Took me a second. I was like, wait for it.
Wait for it. Yeah, follow us on social media, SportsCardADVTG, Instagram, Twitter. Any questions for us, stuff you want to hear on the podcast, info@sportscardadvantage.com. Sports Card Advantage website finally going to launch probably mid-January. Got it all together, and it is in the process of being rebuilt right now. So got some cool stuff coming at you. And that's it. 1 hour, 4 minutes, 35 seconds. Got anything else for the people?
No, sir.
Happy New Year to everybody. Happy, healthy, wealthy 2022, and we'll see you next year.